Stumble, Virtue, Vice, and the Space Between covers a number of virtues. Let's talk about faith. I'm facing the two great facts of late middle age. First, that I really am going to die, and second, that there's no the one out there who is going to make it okay. It's kind of shaken me up to the point where some days I just as soon lie down and pull the covers over my head for good. To absorb it all is not a quick, one-time thing. I think often of Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane, sweating tears of blood the night before he died. Christ's anguished loneliness put him in solidarity with the anguish of every human being, the crackhead on the corner, the man in Africa who is dying of AIDS, me. And in one of the hardest hours of my life, what I'm discovering is that if I can stick with, consciously bear the loneliness and emptiness, I begin to see in a whole new way that I'm not quite as alone as I think. The other day, for example, I went out onto my balcony of my apartment in LA and sat quietly looking at my plants. I sat for a while, and then I moved everything out of the way and hauled down a big aloe that's too heavy to stand up straight. It was listing to the side, dry as a bone, but as I set it down, I noticed that sprouting from that worn-out soil were two fresh green baby agaves. The next day, I spotted a tiny purple bloom, the first sign of life from an epidendrum cutting I'd planted months ago and hadn't dared hope would root. The day after that, I went out there again and really looked at a fresh shoot of the Australian plant called kangaroo paw, the flower a rich yellow, the color Van Gogh associated with the resurrection. Jesus sweat tears of blood in the Garden of Gethsemane so that yellow could exist. He went to the cross for a new agave so that spring could follow winter, so that out of the anguished human heart could rise compassion and praise. He died out of love, not because he holds anything against us, but because so often there's so little that we're for. Without help, I'm not for hope. I'm not for the present moment and whatever it brings. Mostly, I'm not for putting my own needs aside and thinking of someone else. In the middle of the city, he's given me my own little garden to remind me to sit with him for a while in his. To stay awake through the suffering is everything. To love till it hurts. To see what happens next. I'm Heather King. Thanks for paying attention to my stumblings. Be sure to buy my book and to learn about my new improved stumblings at heather-king.com.